Oh, nope, that's not the right thing. What's happening? I don't know what's happening right now. I'll get you there. Hold on. Okay, end share. Nope, still did the wrong thing. Oh my gosh, it's been too long. I need to stop. Okay, hold on. We're gonna hear. And then we're gonna, oh my God, this is so bad. What is happening?
This is so awesome.
Why is it doing that?
What are you wearing?
Okay. Stop share. Why is it opening? There you are. Wow. Talk about a train wreck. What's up, guys, and welcome back to UpDated. I know it's been a while. It's been about 4 months almost exactly since I actually recorded the last episode. As you saw last week, it was the most recent episode that I had recorded all the way back in May. But now it is the end of September. It's actually September 30th. And I'm excited to be back. I'm excited to start bringing these episodes back weekly. With that being said, I was like, I need to bring in someone good to bring this show back. And I wanted to bring in none other than my mentor and my older brother. He has worked with artists such as Flux Pavilion, Lupe Fiasco, Mr. Carmack, Harrowbust, and so many more. He's an amazing street artist. He has been in the industry and in the street dance world for over 18 years now. It is none other than my big brother and mentor, Julius Eclypse Jenkins. Let's get this open. Where are you? Julius Eclypse Jenkins. How are you doing, brother?
Hey, I'm good, man. I'm good. Maintaining, hustling.
Wow.
Loving the extra entertainment here before I get to join the show,
Well, how you been? I mean, it's been... Let me try and think. When was the last time we saw each other? Probably at least.
It's been at least 2 or 3 years, man.
Yeah, because it was right at you. Since I saw you just before Gus was born.
Yep. It was right before you left on the boat, man.
Yeah, because I had just came. Yes, you're right. I came back up to Ohio for a minute just before that contract started.
Yeah, buddy.
Wow, that's been at least 3 years then. That's insane.
I know. A long time. I had no clutch players to call up for shows, man.
So fun fact about Julius is he actually gave me my first professional gig ever. It was the first, really? Yeah, Flux Pavilion. When we did Flux Pavilion, I was 14 years old going to this rave with my whole family. And it was one of the best experiences of my life. And it was my first professional gig. It was first ever dancing gig I ever got paid for.
That's crazy, man. That was 2012, man.
Yeah, that's insane. I was a sophomore in high school.
Yeah, and you were a hit. I don't know, you had crazy hair going on, and man, them people were all over you. People were like, hey, he's young. Leave him alone.
I remember getting ready for that show, and we hadn't got the paint that we use like most recently. Do you still use the stick paint?
Yeah.
So we hadn't got that yet, and so you were still spray painting your hands. And we had a mix of spray paint and this like powdery.
The stuff was terrible.
Oh, it was awful.
It was so bad.
You would sweat that stuff off within seconds.
Yeah, it was so bad. And I remember before we even got it, like, because I was spray painting my whole body, like not my whole body, but my face and neck and the hands. And I think it might have been your mom's that was like, yes, we're not going to be spray painting Dylan's face. She just cut that in the bud immediately. She said, and you shouldn't be doing it either. And I was like, Bill, you're probably right. Let
That's
me try
Mama
to
Stoney.
find something that won't kill us as fast. But
That's
yeah,
funny.
man, that was dope. That was probably one of the best shows that I ever been to.
I'll never forget it. I remember how sweaty it was, how gross it was. I remember my biggest like memory from that though is the leaving. Once we like nobody was really into people were into us when we first showed up because they were like,
Yeah,
oh, well, who are these guys? It's one gigantic robot and one real tiny robot. And I'm like, who are these
yeah,
guys? And then, but once we actually performed, I think one of the first songs we went out to was Flux Pavilion's Bass Cannon.
yeah.
Once we did that, the crowd went insane, and it was such a struggle getting out of there.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Because we had a routine to that song too.
Yes, and that
I don't even
just,
know if it looked right. I know we did it.
you
We were
remember the
all,
lights? We had the lights in our hands too.
oh, the lights in the hands.
Oh man,
Yes.
it was a whole thing.
Yes. Oh, I still got pictures of that. But yeah, man, that was dope. That was the first of many. The robot takeover.
So speaking of that, like a lot of my friends in Carnival don't.
Hmm.
I've tried to explain to them, but they don't really quite know. So I'm gonna throw up a couple pictures of us like all done up.
Oh
And in the
snap.
intro, I'm gonna throw videos of us and you performing. But explain to them what the Millennium Robots is and how you came up with it.
Yeah, man. So essentially, in the street dance culture, historically, street style dancers just have not been given the same consideration and respect as other dancers. So, if we know dancers in general are a marginalized group of artists, where dancers are generally bottom of the totem pole, right?
Right.
Um, behind musical artists, the street dancer is at the bottom of the dance list. So it's already difficult to gain that respect and all of that. But the way street dancers made money, especially back in the day, was doing street shows and performing out on the street for random people. And of course, they had to compete for people's attention. So they come up with all these really cool different ways to get people to stop, watch the show, give them money. And one of those ways was a elaborate costume scenario, right? And throughout time, the techniques and costumes kind of changed and morphed, but the idea was the same. How do I get somebody to stop, watch me, and give me money so that I can do this and make cash off of my art form? So I'd always been interested in joining those ranks. Like, what if I could do, the LA, Vegas, New Orleans style, like robotic presentation? And I just thought about it, put it on the back burner. But, and I think it was 2010, New Year's Eve, I was dancing at a club, and like they hired me to come in and perform every week. And all the girls that were working there decided they're going to dress up in silver. And I said, maybe this would be a great time to try out a silver robot, like, Vegas style, LA style. And I did it. And at first, I only had a blazer that I spray painted silver. I spray painted my face, and I had a top hat. Everything else, I had blue jeans. I had on regular sneakers. I did spray paint my hands, right? So it was pretty basic, my setup. But I went out for the first time and just stood out in front of the club, and people were walking past, and they had no idea that I was real. And then somebody would come up to me and try to take a picture, and they would touch me, and then I would move, and they freak out, as usual, like everybody else does on the videos on YouTube and all of that. They would lose their minds, and they lost their mind. They would stop and they would say, "Oh my God, it's a real person!" And they would go and grab more people. Well, what was happening was something I wasn't prepared for. They started giving me money. Well,
That's never a bad thing sometimes.
it was, I just wasn't prepared. I didn't realize at that point that you're supposed to have something to put the money in.
You're just walking around with 20.
Yeah, yeah, money's coming out of my pocket up top, and people trying to find places to shove it in on me. I was like, okay, this is awkward. So I said, all right, I need to go downstairs and get a bucket. So one of the bartenders caught me on the way in. He was like, hey, I saw somebody trying to give you money. He said, you need to put something out there they can put it in. I was like, well, you got something. He gave me one of his tip buckets. So I went back up there and I put tip bucket in there. I stood out there for another hour. And when I finished, I went back downstairs, cleaned up, and then I counted my money. When I counted it, I had made $60. And I was like, oh, this is cool. So I decided to do it the next day. Well, the next day I did it, and I was more aware about what I was supposed to be doing. I stayed up there for about an hour and a half, and I made $100. So the next weekend, you can guess what I did, but before I planned to do. But before that, I got a call from my manager who asked me Sunday evening, are you coming back next week with the robot? And I was like, why? She was like, well, because people are calling us, asking us if the robot is going to be there again. I was like, really? So I tried to hustle her. I was like, yeah, man, I don't know. It's a lot of work, that's a lot of work. I got to paint. I got to do this. I got to, clean up. It's terrible, Maybe I could, do it for, $300, you pay me to show up. And she was like, how about we just let you keep your tips? And I was like, all right, fine. Because they were already paying me $20 an hour to be there.
Right.
So I get that plus my tips. So I spent 2 of those hours for doing the robot, and the other 2 I would be in the club. And it worked out, man. I started leaving with like an extra $200 a night, or a night from the casino.
And that's kind of how Millennium, your idea to do and build Millennium robots started.
So that was the birth of the robot. Yeah.
What were you doing just before? I don't think I've actually ever asked, like, what were you doing for work just before this?
Oh, man, I was working at TGI Fridays. I was serving tables, man.
Oh, my God, I would have loved to see that.
Oh, I was good, too. Yeah, buddy.
Knowing you now, I would have loved to see you serving at TGI Fridays. You would have been the best server, but it would just, like, knowing you for so long, like, it would crack me up, the idea.
Yeah, man. Awesome. It was a blast. Definitely.
So what made you choose to paint up as silver and be like a robot? Like, where did the birth of that idea come from? Like, why a robot and why not, like, paint yourself like wood or dress up like an alien? You know what I mean? Like, why a robot?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, that was my lane, right? So I was already focused in the popping arena as far as street dance goes. So the street dancers, I was modeling after a lot of other street dancers. It was basically an homage to street style performers who were poppers, robotic dancers, original boogalooers. That's how they would dress up.
Right.
You look at like the late Harry Berry, who just passed. He was notoriously known for his silver outfit and his shows at the Santa Monica Pier. So, just the connection between popping, robotics, and the silver itself is kind of what made me aware of it. So I was like, I want to just continue that legacy and do it.
You've created something that I've been on ships now for working with Carnival for 3 years, and I have ran into people, and I'm not kidding you, that they're like, oh yeah, I'm from Ohio. I'm like, oh, I'm from Ohio. I used to street dance with my crew down in Newport on the Levee in Cincinnati, and they're like, I've been there multiple times, Newport. Were you the silver guy? I was like, well, if he was really big, it was my friend who started the whole thing. If it was tiny, it was me. But literally random people on the ship of 3 years now on cruise ships, and people know who the robot. They don't necessarily. I know you're still working on it, and I still share the name. Whenever I talk to people about it, and building the idea behind Millennium robots. But people, you're synonymous with Cincinnati. You know what I mean? And I can just see it. Obviously, it's going to continue to grow, especially with your Heroes Rise Academy and the battles and the performance group. Like, you're just growing it more and more, and it's amazing to see how it's blossomed. I remember the last show that I remember us scrambling to do was I want to say it was LexisNexis. I think
that one was planned. I think we planned that one.
What was the one that we were in Sparrow's basement for literally we were in his basement for 6 hours trying to come up with choreo?
Oh, that was the Springfield Festival show.
That's it. We were literally in his basement for hours, sweating because it was hot. And I'll never forget that one. Because that was the one that was outside, right?
Yeah.
That's what it was. Okay.
With all the little kids that came up to us afterwards. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll never forget that one. So
my favorite one was the news.
News. GMA. The GMA
and we
one?
stayed up till probably 4 a.m. practicing. And then Sparrow got off work, came to my apartment in Newport. We were in my little living room.
Yes.
And we had to teach him the routine.
Yes, because it was the three. It was you, me, and Jai. And then Sparrow show. I do remember that. Man.
Sparrow showed up at 5 o'clock or something, and we had to be on the news at 7 a.m.
Gosh, I do remember that. We had some wild ones.
It didn't matter whatever the situation was. As soon as I called you guys and said, "Yo, are you good? Are you still good for whatever the date was?" And I got a yes from both of y'all. That was it. I didn't worry about nothing else after that. I knew we would get the routine together. We could be totally building a whole show from scratch. I wasn't worried. And it was because we had done it, and that trust in you guys, just the affirmative knowing, okay, they said they're gonna do it, they're gonna be here and they're gonna do it. That's it. I didn't have any worries about that. I missed that.
It's crazy. So, because you've built not only Heroes Rise, but the Millennium Robots into something that because I don't think was I one of the first to join the group, the team?
You were the first robot, yeah.
It was you and me, and then I think it was Jai and then Sparrow. And Jai and Sparrow were really close. They both joined up really close to each other.
Yeah.
And you've blossomed everything in such ways that I didn't expect. And my favorite thing is how much you've gone into and built up the Cincinnati community around around street culture and street art, and working at where is it that you work now? Or what's this?
I was working at Elements, yeah.
Elements, yes. I was like, I can't think of the name. And just building everything that you've built, I am unbelievably, I know it sounds silly coming from young old me, but I am unbelievably proud of you from where you started with all of this to where you are now. Unbelievably proud. I am so happy for you.
No, man, no doubt. I appreciate it. It's all a journey, but I wasn't there by myself. I didn't do them shows by myself. I wasn't in those rehearsals alone. You know what I mean? So it's more me thanking you guys for riding, you know what I'm saying? And just kind of going with the flow in a lot of cases. Because I know that, there was some wild scenarios that I would throw y'all in and be like, yo, we got to do this.
Man.
And so, it was definitely a group effort, man. Anything that we have is based on that teamwork,
We legitimately got to the point where, because one of your biggest rules whenever we were in costume and ready and out in the audience or out in public, even sometimes backstage, your biggest rule was don't speak. Was that's always been your biggest rule. And we got to the point, it took us a little bit, but we got to the point where we could literally we'd have sunglasses on and we could still read each other's face. Like,
Yeah.
don't do that. To go there. Step over there.
Yeah.
Come here. Go there.
Yeah.
Like, it was always really intense. Oh my gosh. Speaking of which, I just thought of actually the craziest moment.
What?
I think it was Mr. Carmack.
I was literally thinking that exact same
Was
show.
that the one where it was me and Jai were backstage, like not even close to ready, and they were like, "You're on in 2" or whatever?
Oh, no.
What was that?
That was
You know,
when we did the Raw Artist show at Bogart's.
Yes, because I just remember being backstage and all of us are chilling and you're pretty much ready. And me and Jai are like, we have time. We're not going on for another like 10 minutes. We can get ready in 2. And they're like, you're on in 2 minutes. And we're like freaking out.
Yeah, man. That's when they had changed the schedule and everything. And we was like, oh, snap. It was like, okay, you guys are on next. Like, what?
May have been the worst robot paint I ever did, but it was one of the best it was one of the best moments. I just remember me and Jai both freaking out and you just throwing stuff around the backstage. Like, get your shoes on, put your pants on.
Yes, we did it though. But no, we're talking about that telepathic type stuff. That Carmack show with you and Sparrow.
That was the one. That one was, oh my gosh, that was the one I got there. That was in Louisville. And that was the one I got there like way earlier because I figured the time wrong. I thought we were supposed to be there at a different time. And you guys showed up later. And so I spent like 2 hours in Louisville by myself. And then, but you guys showed up and then we didn't really have anything planned. And it was just the way we were moving, the 3 of us, was like insane. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I won't lie. I miss those shows. I don't necessarily miss all the paint and the paint staying on there for days and days and days. But I just remember the best part. I remember picking in my ear at school and it coming out like full silver. You're like, what the
yes. That's
I haven't performed for 2 months. What the
hell? Yes. Nah, man. But it's dope and it was cool to, because when the levy stopped, that was really my main place of performing and then getting gigs and events and stuff. But as I was teaching at Elements and getting more students, I was just like, oh man, like how do we, get these folks opportunities to perform, like, to get their skills out there and just to kind of see what it's like. And it was dope because we were in a position to be able to provide them those types of opportunities to, perform with the Cincinnati Symphony Orchestra, to, do all kinds of events. And
now is this where Heroes Rise, like the birth of Heroes Rise came from? Yeah.
So Heroes Rise originally is an event, a competition. So it's a battle. And we started that in 2012. And it was
I remember the first one.
Yeah. That one was crazy because it was the first one, and we had like 300 people come through the door.
That was the one in the gymnasium, wasn't it?
Yeah, at Cincinnati State.
Yep.
Yeah. And it was at first we were trying to make it a big festival, and the battle was just going to be part of a larger festival. But, that didn't end up working out, so we just ended up throwing the battle, me and Adam. And, when we did the battle, it was out of what I saw as a void. We're trying to fill a need for all of these dancers to be able to not have to travel. At least once a year there's a jam in your city that you can go to, and all these people from out of town come here, and you can battle them. You can show your stuff. You can match yourself up and say, okay, I'm on the level, or be like, I gotta train. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It was kind of in the vein of what Scribble Jam did for a lot of us. And then when Scribble Jam went away, we had Unfinished Business with Dez down here. He threw a few of those battles and they were really successful. But, ultimately financially, man, throwing jams and doing events, it just weighs on you when you don't have help. So what I was trying to do was figure out how to get these things done, but alleviating the financial burden from the promoter, i.e. myself. So I paid out of pocket for the first 2, made them good, and then we got some financial help from other organizations. And then I started writing grants and was able to get grant money to throw these jams and make them bigger. So
I
originally it was an event.
remember Uban was my favorite one. I mean, yes, I
Oh
won.
yeah,
I won the all styles in that one, but that was just the
yeah,
location. Like that was one
yeah.
of the grittiest like not
I
situation
know.
locational battles I've ever been in. Like
Yeah,
that was on the street. You know what I mean? Like
yeah, yeah.
that was
That
a
was dope.
sick battle.
That was a really dope jam. I felt like because, like you said, it was out there. It just sucked. For some reason, it was stupid cold.
Oh my god, it was so cold.
It was like, are you kidding me right now? The
My
whole week
toes
was
hurt
not.
so bad.
Yeah, man. No, you were getting it though.
That was
You were out
such
there.
a
People were so annoyed with you. They were like, "Why is he so happy? Why is he
oh my
so happy?
that's
Just being all nice to everybody and stuff." They were like, "Oh my god!"
I
And then you go
really
out there and
think
just destroy people.
that's my problem with battles is I end up being too nice and I get into what my opponent's doing. Like I'm like, yeah, you're killing it. Like I'm like
Yeah.
applauding them. Like I went to a battle in Hollywood, which is just north of Miami here in
Mm,
Florida,
okay.
and I got to. It was my first battle in probably since Uban, I think actually. So probably at least 5 years at that
Wow.
time, and and I remember I was just so happy the whole time. I got to top four, and the people hated me. Nobody
Good.
liked me at the battle. I mean, I didn't know anyone in the first place,
Yeah.
but nobody liked me. Nobody talked to me.
What?
Like it was such a like. Oh, I was so upset because the problem with Orlando is that Orlando, at least I have any event that I've gone to in Orlando,
Mm.
is they're all b-boy based. Like it's
Oh.
all b-boy battles. I can never seem to find like a popping battle, an all styles, a hip hop battle, a locking battle. Like I can't find anything that I would feel comfortable enough throwing
Mm.
myself into.
Mm.
Um, and so it was like the first like popping battle I had seen. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna have fun. I'm gonna do it like every single battle I've ever done. And I get there and I'm like, I don't know anyone, so I'm like, okay, well, I'm still gonna have fun. And then I'm battling and people are like mad that I'm happy. And I'm like, I'm trying to have fun. Like, oh my gosh,
Wow.
it made me miss the battles up in the Midwest for sure. We're talking battles and stuff, and obviously that was the birth of Heroes Rise. But Heroes Rise Cincinnati is so much more now. It's
Yeah.
you have a performance group
Yeah.
and an academy, which you just started the academy. So I want you to tell me a little bit about that, and where the inspiration to take it from
Yeah.
just a battle and an event to something that is a place to be and a place to learn and thrive.
Yeah, man. So essentially, after the jam happened, we're just throwing battles. And like I said, I had these students that, once a year isn't necessarily enough to go and kind of hone your skills and all of that. And they were interested in performing too. So I was like, all right, well, let's start doing this. So we did that. And then in 2018, I got a grant to throw the battle again.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a partnership with People's Liberty here in Cincinnati, which is part of a huge foundation. And then um, the National Underground uh, Railroad Museum jumped in and partnered with us.
Man, that's the one I wish I could
Freedom
have gone
Center,
to that one.
sorry.
That one the videos are so cool. Like I wish I could have gone to that event.
Yeah, man, that jam, like doing that jam at the Freedom Center was so huge because number one, the battle was was called Experience, the whole thing, and we had inadvertently created a 3-day festival,
Mm-hmm.
essentially. So it was a 3-day event that, in order to get the grant, we had to do something different than what we did before. So my idea of doing something different was adding the theater
Right.
show. So on Friday night, we had the theater show in the actual Harriet Tubman Theater at the Freedom Center. And the deal that there's no way I could have afforded that on my budget. But the event coordinator was like, we have to do this here. So tell me what your budget is. And I told her and she was like, all right, we'll figure it out. And we worked it out, man. She did amazing work. And I was like, oh my gosh. So we got in there. Friday night, we did the show. thinking of what to name, because every year I name the event something new.
Mm-hmm.
So this year I named it after what we were trying to create, which was an experience. And that was the official birth of the Heroes Rise street dance experience as a performance group.
Right.
And they were called the Street Dance Experience. So now there's officially a all styles street style dance group representing the street style dances. And what we did at the Freedom Center was only used music native to the street style dances that we were using. So, we didn't mix genres. We didn't do any of that. Like, we did a locking set. We did straight funk. When we did a breaking set, with the breaking battle was a break beat. When they had the crump set, it was a crump track. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
We wanted people music that goes along with these styles, because for so long we've been doing collaborations with chamber musicians, classical music, and
right.
that's all dope. But when do these audiences actually get to see us perform at this level to what these dances were made to?
Exactly.
So that was the point. And it went over well. Then Saturday we did the battle, and then Sunday we had workshops. So now that we had a 3-day event, which had never happened before here for street dance, we have a group. So from the group, the only issue that we had with the group is that everybody wasn't trying to be dancers professionally,
Right.
They were doing other things. Like, dance was fun for them, and they enjoyed what we were doing, and it was a good time. But trying to transition into that serious performance group role, I felt like was too much to really ask of them.
Right.
I mean, they did whatever I asked them to do. If I said, hey, we got a show this day or this day, like, everybody would try to make it, and they would practice and all of that. Like, they were great. Great. But I just felt, like it's getting kind of heavy now, and so I was like, well, maybe we'll pull back. And the last show we did was last year, which was dope. We did something with the Cincinnati Symphony Orchestra. Finally, for the first time ever, I personally got to perform on the main stage at Music Hall.
That's amazing.
So
that's a huge deal. That's super cool.
Yeah, and we were one of only 2 performers that night. So
that's awesome.
We went out and did. They picked the music, but it was Ghostbusters for the first one. We dressed up in jumpsuits and did a little hip-hop-esque dance to Ghostbusters, and then we came out and did this full locking routine to Celebration for the finale, and it was dope.
So so that's how Heroes Rise started, and now
that was the group, yeah.
You've just
now we're
opened
at the
Heroes Rise Academy within literally what you've opened it a month ago ish.
No, literally our intro intensive was Saturday.
So like a week, roughly half a week from right now. Where did the birth of the idea to make an academy start? Because obviously it's not like you woke up one day. It's not like you woke up last Friday and said, you know what, academy tomorrow. Here it is. So where did the birth of the academy start?
Honestly, bro, like, it's always been in the back of my mind, especially dealing even from when we were doing things and before we even created the group, when we were just going to battles and the whole nine, and just noticing how little structuralized and institutionalized representation we had for our art forms. It didn't sit well with me, but we had to keep leaving the city to find other people to represent ourselves with. Like, I felt like there needed to be something here in Cincinnati. Everybody else has something. Like, all the other dance forms have studios, they have companies, they have structured degree programs. Like, there is a way and a path forward for a dancer of any kind outside of the street realm. to make a career dancing. There's no structure for that. It doesn't really exist for street style dancers. There's no degree program. There are street dance academies now that are opening up, but you know, they're not necessarily accredited institutions yet. We're working on it, but you know, it's just, we got to take the steps we have to take.
Mm-hmm.
And that was what my frustration was with Cincinnati, is people love to watch street dance.
Right.
They love it. Like every time we hit the floor anywhere, people stop and they watch. And I kept looking at myself as a testament to that. You know, like when I was working at Newport and Levy, I worked 8 hours a week.
Yeah, trust me, I remember.
Like, you know, you put in work at that, but that was it. We would go down there for the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
I would make all of my bill money, and in one weekend, and that was all I did was perform.
Yep.
And that wasn't somebody giving me a check. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like people, random humans and supporters that would just come and put money in my bucket because they enjoyed the show. And I was able to make a living doing that.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, dude, if I can do this just based off of people's generosity, there is no way that this idea isn't successful. From a business standpoint, from an educational standpoint, we should be able to get this done. So from then, all the way back then, man, I was thinking about how do we get adequate financial, economic representation for the non-traditional dancer in Cincinnati.
No, I totally agree. I mean, we've talked about this before, about the idea of like, how can we bring forward the knowledge and the history behind street dance, street culture, street art? Like, how do we what's the right path to show people that this is where it comes from? You know what I mean? I mean, there's books. I mean, there's probably books that I don't know of, but I know there's books about all about the history of ballet. You know what I mean? All about the history of jazz and about specific jazz artists and stuff like that. But there's not really, that I know of personally, at least. And you can definitely
there are a few,
but there's nothing that's like, there's not enough. I think there's not enough to where people are like, oh, I'm learning about the beginning of hip hop. I'm learning about the beginning of popping, locking, b-boying, so on and so forth. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you and me, I mean, we've disagreed on things before. On like I might be like, oh no, I think it should be this way, or you should think it should be that way. But I think what's great about it is that we're both heading in the right direction. You know what I mean? We both want the same outcome. It's just that we have slightly different ideas, but your idea is working, and that's really, really cool.
Man, you know, ultimately, it's not even, I don't want to look at it as like my idea, right? Because I've been inspired by so much that has happened that other people have put into motion, other things that other people put in motion. So I'm just like, okay, if I'm in a position, because I feel like if all of us that has this idea, right? We have this idea, we want to make this happen. Everybody just isn't in the same position. So whoever's in a position to make that move. And we all support where we can, right?
Right, of course.
That's, I feel like, where I have fallen. Like, I've been able to find myself in certain positions to make certain things happen. And I've just taken advantage of that and made sure that I did my best to make it move. And that's what we're doing.
And so moving forward, though, and like moving into the next, say, like 5 years or so, I mean, I'm on. I mean, obviously, I still talk to you guys every now and then. If we have if some random video of a battle comes up with two people that are whack, like we'll talk about it in our little group chat or whatever. But like with the day and age of social media now, and you have so many, I don't want to call them street dancers, but like social media dancers, you know what I mean? That are, so how do what do you suggest, or what do you think is the right way to go about it moving forward? So that way people aren't saying, oh, I'm doing the blah, blah TikTok dance from that kid, when it actually was something that Skeeter Rabbit created, or Poppin' Pete was influenced by, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
how do we, or what is the next step moving forward? Do you believe, at least with this age of social media, it's just difficult, you know?
Yeah, man. I believe honestly that everything is a tool, man.
Mm-hmm.
And we kind of bash on people who have leveraged social media to get their information out. And, the bottom line really is they're just no different than, an Amazon or a
Mm-hmm.
Walmart. They took advantage of the opportunity presented to them, and they did what they wanted to do. Now, regarding authenticity and authentic representation,
Mm-hmm.
that's on us. And
Yeah.
we have to be more vigilant about calling that out when we see it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there are a lot of people online now, especially after COVID hit. I don't know if you noticed, but I kind of started to throw up videos and then I just tapered off.
Yeah.
And the reason why is because I started seeing tons of people like that jumping into the arena, throwing up videos, just flooding the timelines with
Mm-hmm.
a lot of stuff. And it almost became cliche to
Yeah.
make a dance video,
Right.
to make a tutorial. Like, I'm going to teach you something now. Okay, let me
Mm-hmm.
compete with these other 450 million videos that are up right now,
Right.
people trying to do the exact same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And while I was definitely grateful for the people who watched my videos and, gave me feedback about them and took the information, I was just feeling like almost a sense that people didn't deserve what I was putting out.
Right.
And not the people that supported me, but the people who would be digesting that information and trying to manipulate it for a quick gain on, something that they're not connected to at all.
Just obviously kind of just to pick your brain is, do we completely shun those industry conventions, whatever, that are completely cut off from street culture and street dance, and they do like these hip hop classes and they do this and do that? Do we completely cut them out in the sense of like, okay, don't ever go to them, don't ever try and teach at them or anything like that? Or do we still force ourselves in order to convey the message we are trying to get across? You know what I mean? Like, what is
Yeah,
that? What is that correct step?
yeah, man, and that's a good question. It's a question that has been asked for a very long time, and honestly, it's one I have seen a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And in a lot of the dance teacher networks online, this question comes up quite a bit, where somebody is frustrated that their hip hop number didn't get judged well at a competition. And they're
Mm-hmm.
looking at the judges, and they're saying, well, none of these judges have any experience in hip hop, in street dance at all.
Mm-hmm.
And they're judging this hip hop number, and they'll say it was a straight hip hop set. Why is it scoring low, et cetera, et cetera? And originally, my answer is always, don't go.
Right.
Right? Um, because ultimately, it's a money game.
Yeah.
We have to start understanding how powerful our dollars are.
Mm-hmm.
If we don't pay to go to a competition, they can't throw the competition. So what you do is, what I would suggest is contacting the organizers and saying, listen, you know, you guys are just, that you don't have adequate representation
Right.
for a style that you're offering a competition in.
Mm-hmm.
We would like for you to do that. Find people who are qualified to judge a hip hop set.
Mm-hmm.
We don't care how much extra that's going to cost you. The excuse is that most of the people who are trained in hip hop or even street in general are not trained in the other dances. So they're not trained in ballet or contemporary or modern
So how would
jazz.
they judge those?
Yeah, and they're saying we would essentially have somebody who's only judging hip hop numbers. And, you know, obviously they're trying to save money and they're worried about their budget, et cetera, et cetera. But we have to just stop taking that as an answer because number one, it's not true.
But then, if we are not going to those competitions or those conventions and not showing people like, so like if say it's a competition, right? And you've been to dance competitions before. I mean, you go up and there's 3 hip hop numbers. One is true like hip hop, as well as popping and locking, and they have street culture within their performance. And then the next 2 are in the hip hop category, but they are clearly a commercial style of dancing. Like whenever I teach, I always clarify, am I teaching, like if I'm teaching choreography to even a hip hop song or anything like that, if I'm teaching just choreography, I always state this is a commercial dance class. This is not a hip hop dance class. I'm not teaching you any styles of hip hop. I'm not teaching you hip hop dance. I'm not teaching you popping, but I'm teaching you a commercial choreography. Yeah. So by not going to those competitions, are we then enabling the spread of misinformation? Do you know what I mean? Like that, and I think that's the struggle that we've always dealt with. And it's just about, and I'm curious on what you think because.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So when I say talk with your dollars, is you can go and talk to the promoters and they'll likely give you the reason that I said. We can't afford it to just hire somebody to just judge hip hop.
Right, exactly.
Okay, fine. We're not coming to your competition. Promoters rely on studios to pay up front for their competitions. It is our job now to convince studio owners that, number one, if they're not teaching legitimate hip hop, we need to let them know, like, yo, this isn't hip hop. We have a catalog of people who are capable of teaching a hip hop class. You know, we would like for you to hire them. And if they are arrogant and they say no, then you go about letting everyone know that, yo, if you want hip hop, don't go to X studio because they're not teaching hip hop and they don't care. This is how we have to start getting defensive about our culture. We have to literally say, yo, because if it was ballet, there's no way that I could walk into a studio and say, hey, I want to teach this ballet class. And I'll say, okay, where'd you train? Nowhere. Okay, what do you have foundation in? What did you go to school for? What? No, I just, I watched some YouTube and I took a couple classes. Yeah, I'm good. I can teach the class. No, they'll laugh me out of it. It's like, no, cut it out. We have to have the same standard.
I like
that.
So
calling these people out, starting with the studios and the studio owner, say, yo, y'all not teaching the real stuff. We don't care. Okay, then you get on your platform and you say, studio such and such ain't teaching the real stuff. We tried to approach them about it. They were arrogant.
Right.
Now what happens is we have to do the same thing to these competitions. When we talk to them and they say, nah, we don't have that money. Then we get online and we use our platform. We say, yo, such and such a competition convention, they don't care about the people. They don't care about the culture. They don't care about the art form. Don't give them your money.
I like that because it's the idea, like, it's the idea that, like, a child learning manners starts at home. You know what I mean? And so if they're gonna learn how to portray correct styles within all of dance, it should start at the studios. You know what I mean? And so I totally get what you're saying. I totally get what you're saying, and I really like that.
Yeah, man. I've gotten to a point where I don't have any tolerance for it. You know, people talk to me also about collaborations, and I'm cool, and I'm like, yeah, let's collaborate. But right now, my focus is on street dance, and if what we do doesn't benefit us in the way I think it should, I'm not interested.
Right.
I'm just, we've always just been bottom rung, even with people who claim to have our best interests at heart.
Right.
They're still not looking out for us, for the dancers, for the street dancers.
I mean,
how many kids are here, that have been training with me for almost 10 years?
Right.
You know what I mean? And the places that they relied on to help them out hasn't helped them out. Actually, they've done the opposite. They're just not interested. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So at this point, man, I'm ride or die for street dance culture. And if you want to vibe with me, you can. But right now, it's about teaching people the truth. That's the point of the academy. So that people who want to learn legitimate street style dance, there is a place for you to go.
Right. I mean, I because of you and because of how you shared so much knowledge with me, I mean, to this day, even in carnival or if I'm teaching somewhere else, I'm always like, there's been multiple times when we're learning a piece of choreography at carnival and they're like, okay, do this move. And I'm like, oh, that's a wish away. And they're like,
right.
Well, it's a locking term. You do this. And then I'll break it down and they're like, oh, that's exactly what we're looking for. Or this is a jack from house. You know what I mean? Like we're jacking during this moment. Like I almost am saying, oh, that's what this is. Just so you know, like I'm not going to change the choreography, but I'm telling you that's what this is that I'm doing. It actually has a term. And I try my best to spread the knowledge as much as I can. I mean, I would love to get to the point where I'm where you are in the sense of like you have your own academy and you have your own platform that you continuously share with. And I'm not quite there yet, and I want to be there.
Oh man, I mean, you're probably in a better position than I am.
You've performed with Flux Pavilion. Dr. P was there at the Flux Pavilion one, I think, if I remember right.
Yeah.
Mr. Carmack, Lupe Fiasco, so many more. Who is an artist or an entertainment conglomerate that you might want to perform with or collaborate in the future? Like, who is someone that's always stuck out to you?
Man, you know what? Honestly, there ain't really too many people out there that impress me as far as like what I would want to do with them, like having a collaboration. Like there are a lot of people I like to just see a show.
Right.
I can't say doing a show with. I think the people I would most be interested in collaborating with or doing a show with, probably the old school street performers, man, in LA. People like Midnight, Gizmo Magnetic, Flat Top, Goldmine, like doing a street show. With
doing
those
like a street show where new school meets old school in a sense.
Yeah.
That
is something that I would like to do. I would like to do that.
That'd be really cool. I'd like that. Yeah. Like that. My second question is, what is one of the most cringe moments in your career that you can you look back at and you're like, I cannot believe we did this. Oh my gosh. You don't have to say any big names, but like maybe like a scenario or something that it was.
Man.
We've definitely done some cringy stuff.
We have definitely, yes, been in some weird scenarios. Man, I can't even really. What's funny is like, oh, okay, no.
Ding, light bulb.
This wasn't us as a group though. See, what I tried to do is by the time we became a group, I had already trialed and errored a lot of the madness that we definitely shouldn't be doing.
You're looking at a chalkboard and you're like, yes, no, yes, no.
And one of the things is in-home birthday parties. Yeah. When I was solo, I did one birthday party for somebody, man, and this lady was like, yeah, you can come to our house and we're gonna, and I'm thinking, okay, they understand I'm going to do a performance. So I just assume they have some large space somewhere that I'm going to be. Well, no,
As we
that's not.
all do.
I showed up to this house, and bless their heart, they were just so excited to have me there. And I walked in, and they were like, "The bathroom's over here." And I said, "Okay, well, where am I performing at?" And they were like, "Oh, you go perform in the living room." And I was like, my radio took up half the living room. I was like, God bless them people. I tell you, I was so happy. I mean, they paid me and everything to be there, but I was just like, oh, we can't do this again. It was so funny. They were just sitting like 2 feet away from me on the couch, and I'm standing there on my platform with this huge, I had the big silver radio at that time. So I'm cranking like 700 watts into these people's faces.
And they're like 2 feet away.
Yeah.
Little Johnny sitting on the floor, his hair's flying back. Like,
yeah. It's like, I think there was a cat that was walking around. Like, what was happening in here? I said, oh no. So yeah, at that point I got very strict about parties.
Yeah. Doing street performing on the levee. This is not my last question, but I just thought of it. What's the longest time that you were out on the podium? Like what was the longest time that you were continuously out? Because whenever I would come to Newport, you'd have me go roughly about 2 hours, a little under 2 hours. And then you'd be like, and then we'd walk back, take a break. You usually pop over to Five Guys, get me a burger, and then I may go back out for another 2 hours. But for you personally, what was the longest like consecutive amount of time that you were out on that podium?
Oh man, see, that was a thing at the levee because we had a space to chill. Mm-hmm. It wasn't trying to think. I didn't stay out there very long. I didn't stay out there much past an hour and a half, 2 hours, because I could just go and take a break. Now,
in your career,
festivals.
Yes, festivals are the worst. So what was the longest amount?
The longest I've been on a platform was about 4 hours.
Oh, that sounds terrible. Because you hit that 2 hour mark. I've done the 2 hour mark before. That you hit the 2 hour mark.
Where it was? It was at that City Folk festival.
Oh yes.
I was out there for about 4 hours. There was nowhere to go. No.
Was that the same City Folk when the Zulus came?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I can't even imagine 4 hours. Oh.
Yeah, that day was hot. That was hot. And I don't think I was doing the tip thing then either.
No.
They just paid me a check.
You weren't even fully suited up too. I remember you were in like a black sweatsuit or something.
Right. Yeah. I put on the alter ego.
The incognito robot.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to finish it off. We got about 10 minutes left, okay?
Right.
I'm going to finish it off. Explain to the audience, because we were starting to get into it when we were talking about like going to competitions, going to studios and being like, hey, this is hip hop. What you're doing is not hip hop. What you're doing is something else. Which some people do and I don't. I don't think what they are teaching is necessarily always bad. Mm-hmm. As long as they're getting the correct knowledge. Like I said, like when I go in, I'll be like, I'm teaching a commercial class. I'm teaching a hip hop class. I'm teaching a popping class. Like I specify it.
Yeah.
So with that being said, can you explain the difference between hip hop and what people might perceive is hip hop? Like how do you separate the two?
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. Like what you were saying, teach and show people whatever you want. Mm-hmm. The issue comes along with terminology, because terminology means culture. And if you are misrepresenting what somebody created out of their blood, sweat, tears, experiences in life, and you're just taking it for granted and putting a random movement under that name that doesn't belong there, that's disrespectful and unacceptable. So first, the difference is hip hop is a culture. Hip hop, first and foremost, is an idea, right? And to paraphrase, it's the idea that it's okay for you to be you, right? To express yourself as an individual, creatively, positively, whatever that looks like, and to be free to do so. That is what hip hop ultimately was about. It was about marginalized people who were being told what to do all the time, whose ideas and aspirations were being pushed down constantly, who were being given messaging that would tell them they meant nothing to society, that they were just extra here, you know. Hip hop was born out of that, right? And everything that came out of those people's experiences was poured into the art forms, right? So we know first the connection between the DJ and the breaker. All right, that is what blew up the idea of hip hop and started giving it something tangible, something visual, right? And then you look at later on when the MC comes along, and of course the writer was there from the beginning. In a lot of cases, people would say the writers were the inspiration for this new counterculture movement. So, you know, these first original four elements come together and form a culture. And then within this culture, you have so many other cultures that contribute, right? So first it's Black kids that hit the ground, that start breaking, right? And later on, the Latin kids come in and they put their flavor in from the rocking and hustle dances that they used to do. And they add that to breaking, right? And then now you have everybody else in the neighborhoods coming in and joining this new thing where they're allowed to express themselves in this new wild way, right? So that is all very specific. Like, you can talk about specific moves and say, yo, this is a breaking move, right? This move was created by so-and-so, right? When you move forward into the 80s and you talk about the 80s party dances that were made up to hip hop dance music or New Jack Swing music, like, those moves have names. They were made in the clubs. People made these steps under certain circumstances. And they all look the same. They all have a basic foundation. So when you say I'm teaching hip hop, you need to be honoring that history and you need to be honoring that foundation. If hip hop foundation is bounce and groove, your dance and your choreography or your set or your freestyle needs to have bounce and groove through it the whole time. Like, if you're standing still, hitting a bunch of isolations and doing some random jazz steps and all, like, and still calling the set hip hop, then you're misinformed. You got to cut that out, right?
Right.
Like, hip hop is serious. It is its own thing, has its own foundation. Everything else is everything else. And you can't just call something by a name that's popular because you want people to recognize it. That's not going to work anymore. We're done with that.
That's like, that's perfect. That's exactly how, I mean, that's the exact way you should describe it. I agree that we're at a point now, I think, in all of society as well, where being misinformed is such a common thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And then people doubling down on that ignorance.
Right. And they're like,
there's no truth. It's like, no.
It's people saying that there's no way that it's not this, when there's obvious way. Like, I've always been the kind of person to keep my mind, stay back until I've heard everything before I make a judgment. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I think I learned that from, to be honest, I learned that from the hip hop community and from the street community by going to battles and everybody steps back. And I mean, yes, nowadays there's always been like a very like oh, you know
Drama.
this person, you know that person, you shouldn't be judging this person because you know that person. Like there's always been those kind of things when in
Yeah.
the battle, but in an actual jam, everyone's very much just stepping back and listening and paying attention. And so I think I kind of learned that from going to jams, and I'm
Mm,
grateful for it.
mm.
And I think that's how a lot of people should start to perceive and start paying attention, because
I mean, yeah, man.
it's
Yeah. Go to
it's
jams. That's the thing. People
yeah.
don't. I just literally saw on Facebook where somebody asked I believe they were asking a rhetorical question,
Mhm.
but um, they were asking a question and they said, can someone still teach hip hop if they never go to battles, jams, ciphers, or participate by supporting the scene at all? Can they still teach hip hop? And the majority of the people were like, hell to the nay, no.
Right.
But some folks were like, yeah, if they know what they're doing and they know the dance and all of that. Well, actually, if they know the dance and and they understand the fundamentals, but they just never go anywhere, they don't whatever, like
Mhm.
sure, they can still teach hip hop. And it goes back to what we were talking about. It's like, dude, hip hop is not a dance, right? Hip hop is a culture, and dance is part of that culture.
Right.
So if you're not participating in learning about that culture or in benefiting that cultural community, you don't need to be teaching hip hop. Let's just take ballet, for example.
Right.
Everything is structured around class and stage performance,
Mhm.
right? But there's the culture created within that world.
Right.
It's not we don't learn about Italian culture or French culture or Russian culture in the community
Mhm.
or of the communities that brought forth these steps or this dance in general.
Right.
We're just learning the techniques,
Right.
where the techniques are applied.
Mhm.
That's it. So the difference between ballet and let's say hip hop culture is hip hop dance. Hip hop culture doesn't exist without hip hop dance,
Right.
and vice versa. So you can't begin to fully grasp what is the dance until you see it done culturally in its element,
Gotcha.
which is socially. Because as you know, all of these street dances are social dances.
Social dances. Exactly. Yeah. Sorry about
So,
that.
you go to the party, you interact with people, you feel the attitude and the vibration and all of that, and you learn about these people's daily lives. You learn about what their struggles are. These things go into what creates the dance.
Mhm.
So if you want to become a hip hop choreographer, for example, and you don't understand how hip hop works, what created hip hop, then you can't necessarily understand how to bring that sort of an emotion or that type of feeling to your movement
Yeah.
to make
No.
it look authentic, you
That's
know?
that you're making. I mean, obviously, you're making an extremely valid point. It's because I agree with you. When you go to a battle or you go to a jam, the energy in a room is unlike something I've ever felt. It's
Yeah.
it is I always explain this to people whenever someone asks me. They're like, "Oh, what's it like to go to a battle?" And I mean, I've been to battles in very sketchy areas before.
Yeah.
Um, and the thing is, like, you go in there, and the second you step in that room, it's like a family. Like, yeah, there
Yeah.
could be drama, and there's the different
Yeah. But
personalities that are not intermixing well, but it's such a family, and it's such a the hip hop community is such a family. Whereas, like, you can go to a convention, and I always say, I'm like, I'm more terrified than of a dance mom than I am
mm,
of any person that I'm
yeah.
battling, whether they're 20 years older than me or my age. Like, I've never been
Mm,
terrified at a battle. but I can go to a dance competition and I can be absolutely terrified to speak to any of those moms.
Yeah.
And
And it's interesting, you know, because of the what they've created, you know.
Mhm.
Our kids are better. That's a whole different conversation right
Right,
there.
right, right. No, but I get what you're saying. Where the going to I get what you're saying. Going to a jam and going to a battle, there's a feeling that if you don't go to those things, you can't understand.
Yeah. I mean, it's literally that. You just don't get it because the dancing, as we were talking about earlier, is just kind of part of it.
Right.
But what you build with someone, the
Mhm.
relationship you build with this person, because you have a similar interest in the dance,
Right.
gives you so much more perspective in the dance.
No,
You
yeah.
know what I'm saying?
I totally
So
agree.
it's like, you know, that's how the dance ultimately has been transmitted. You know, you learn. People didn't learn how to do these dances in studios when they were first coming up with the moves, when they were first figuring out what it was. Like,
Mhm.
you know, breakers and street dancers in general weren't even allowed to go in the studios.
Right.
Most studios were like, what are you doing here with them dirty shoes on? Bag back. You know what I mean? Like they
Right.
couldn't even go in to use a mirror to see what it was until they became big, you know? Then you have,
Mhm.
you know, big groups like New York City Breakers or, you know, the Electric Boogaloo's where they would get to a point with representation where they would be respected, but they would be respected as individuals or as a
Mhm.
group, but still didn't manage to get respect for the overall art form, if
Right.
that makes sense,
No,
you know?
it makes total sense. Really, really
So
cool.
yeah,
No.
man, it's just slightly different, man. It's just a little dance is dance,
Mhm.
I think, at its core.
Mhm.
Generally, we want to express something that uh, that we don't necessarily have words for,
Mhm.
and in a lot of cases, we're trying to do that with our movement. But um, I think that people still put certain movements above others as far as
Mhm.
what's more important, what's more expressive, what's capable of being more
It's
artistic.
it's crazy to see how we are still um, striving to find good representation within the street culture
Hmm.
within the industry, the dance industry.
Yeah,
Even though we've had, I mean, they're not necessarily the greatest examples, but we've had movies uh,
yeah,
like the
breaking.
Step Up, Breaking. Like we've had those movies
Oh yeah, the
where
newer ones. Yeah,
the newer. I mean, yeah, we have the older ones breaking and stuff, but newer we have like the Step Ups and stuff, and those aren't necessarily the best
right.
ways to show our representation. So it's astonishing to me though that we have those movies that have legitimate street dancers in it.
Yeah,
Some of our friends in those
yeah,
films,
yeah,
and it's still being represented not the way it should be. You know what I mean? Like it's
yeah,
crazy. It's
man.
crazy that it's 2020 and this whole thing started in the late 70s. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you know, that's always been the argument. Why are we still where we're at? Why are we still having this conversation?
Mm-hmm.
You know,
It's
like
yeah.
why can't we get somewhere? It's like
Mm-hmm.
we're constantly backsliding, and I think that it lends to a bigger issue of um, uh, our overall situation in this country,
Right.
our racial situation that we have here,
Mm-hmm.
and our inability to reconcile these institutional ideas of what's good, what's bad, what's art, what's not. And they're all based on who these things came from.
Yeah.
And while as individuals, you have a lot of people, of course, that are like, oh my God, I don't care who made this. This is great. you know? But a lot of the gatekeepers are still trying to uphold a certain standard that they don't want to see go away because
Right.
it means they don't have power anymore. So I think we're looking at ultimately a power struggle, and there's an inevitable shift that is happening. And the people who are in these positions right now are pushing against that change. They don't want to see that much change, you
Right.
know?
It's
Um,
it's 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 one of those things. It's coming. It's just it's not. It doesn't. It's not necessarily coming as fast as we want it to, and it's
yeah,
not. It doesn't necessarily. It's not necessarily coming the way we wanted it to, but
yeah.
it is moving forward. I do believe that
Mhm.
it's moving forward, and I mean I'm a big optimist, but I do believe we're moving in the right direction. It's just the train
Yeah.
is a lot slower than we want it to be.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. I mean, I'm again a testament to that being the fact that I was able to teach the very first street style dance classes at the Cincinnati Ballet. I mean, it's
Right.
called the Cincinnati Ballet, and they let me teach street dance classes. I
Hmm.
teach their intensives for the last, 3 years, I think, and the same with becoming an adjunct for street style dance at CCM, University of Cincinnati. These are all definite mile markers, at least for us here locally, but
Right.
even on a national level.
Oh
The
yeah.
more teachers that start teaching at universities, the faster we'll be able to move towards a legitimate degree program or class recognition where
Mhm.
the classes are required certain degree programs.
Right.
And these
100%.
teachers, like you got, there are no tenured street style dance teachers at all,
Right.
and that is the next hurdle.
Yeah. Is
Like,
getting
it makes no sense for someone to be teaching street dance at your school for 5 or 10 years
without tenure.
and not be looking at tenure.
Yeah.
So
No, I totally agree. I think we have so much more to talk about. I'm gonna cut it off
um,
here though, and I definitely want you back for another episode though, because like even within our conversations, there's stuff that I didn't get to, and there's stuff that I think we could definitely just continue to talk about and inform not only each other but
let's
inform
let's
the
do it again.
audience. You know what I mean?
Maybe once every 3 months. Be like one of those regular Joe Rogan uh, people where you talk to the same person every few months just to catch up.
Just do a every couple months do a Heroes Rise update. We can call it that.
Yeah. No doubt, man. Well, it was good talking to you, bro. Good
Yes.
seeing you again, man. And
Thank you.
definitely,
Seriously, thank you so much for this. Like, it's so good to talk to you. And obviously, we'll probably chat a little bit as soon as I end recording. But for the audience, for all my friends out there, we're going to put it down at the bottom, but tell the audience where they can check you out, where they can follow you and keep updated, not only with Heroes Rise, the Millennium Robots, but you yourself as well.
yeah, definitely. You can go and check out everything about Heroes Rise on our website, heroesrisecincinnati.com. You can link to our Facebook page, which is Heroes Rise Always, and the same for our Instagram page, Heroes_Rise_Always. And then for the robots page, that's at TM Robots on Instagram, and then the Millennium Robots on Facebook, and then the same for YouTube. Just search the Millennium Robots. And yeah, that's it. I don't have a personal life. Social media.
But you might see a couple pictures here and there of his son Gus, who's
Yeah,
absolutely
yeah, yeah,
adorable,
yeah.
who I
Oh, well,
still haven't
yeah.
met.
Go check out my other page on Instagram. That's my personal photography page, which I'm playing with.
He takes some awesome photos. So you've seen
Yeah.
some of the photos I've seen you take of the Cincinnati skyline and stuff are absolutely gorgeous.
Oh, no doubt, man. Appreciate it. Yeah, man. It's at Seriously Mobile, but there are no vowels. So it's SRSYMBL. Seriously Mobile. Yeah.
I'm Thursday Mobile. Thursday.
Right. Seriously.
Well, thank you so much, Julius. I want you guys to definitely go check out. It's his full name, Julius Eclypse Jenkins. Check out all those different pages that he mentions. Give him a like. On this video, please give it a subscribe if you enjoyed this video and enjoy this content. Give it a like rating. Leave a comment below of anyone that you might want me to try and reach out to, or questions for any of the guests that are going to be continuously through this series within the industry. Thank you so much, Julius. You are amazing. I miss you, man. I wish I could just give you a big, big hug. I haven't seen you in forever. But thank you so much for this. Here, hug. No, thank you so much, man. I will see you as soon as I can, all right?
Definitely. Peace.
Peace. Okay, how do I end this thing? And nope, still don't know how to do this. Where's my even cursor? I don't even know where my cursor went. Oh, my mouse wasn't on. That's why.
Oh, okay.